Hey there. So, as you may or may not know, my focus right now is working on my zine for Zine Quest on Kickstarter. Um, it's called Among the Corpses. It is a zombie apocalypse zine using the OpenD6 system. It's a system that was sort of created for the Star Wars D6. I think it was created for that game. Anyway, it was created by West End Games. They used it for a lot of their games, and before West End Games went under, they attached it to the OGL 1.0 or 1.0A, whatever it's called. Anyway, it's part of the OGL, and I've decided that's what I want to use to create this zine because I like the system. I think that more people should be playing it, and hopefully, maybe this zine will kind of help that and help people find it a little bit more, and see what the system has to offer. So today, we are going to create a character for Among the Corpses using the rules from that I've written in Among the Corpses, and we're going to see how easy it is to create a character for this game and for OpenD6 in general. Um, Between different games in OpenD6, there's slight differences in the character sheets, but overall the character creation is pretty much the same. So you should be able to use this on any OpenD6 system. So that's what we're going to do. Let's make a character. I'm Tristan. This is Heroes in Homebrew. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the character in Canva because I kind of didn't want to do it, print out the character sheet and do it as an overhead. And I don't really have a way to create a form fillable PDF because I don't pay for Adobe, so I can't do that. But with the Kickstarter, there will be a character sheet that comes with it. It won't be form fillable. You'll have to print it out, and or if you're able to make it form fillable yourself, then go for it. And if you're able to make it form fillable and you want to give it away to people as, like here's a form fillable character sheet, happily go for it. What we're going to start with, the interesting thing with character creation for this is you don't actually have to roll any dice. It's all about picking and choosing which areas you're going to put things. So, firstly, right here, I have a PDF version of what I've got so far. Like the character creation section is completed for Among the Corpses. Actually, I'm about halfway finished the entire zine, other than the art. But I just made this one section into a PDF just so I don't have to scroll through a lot of stuff. It's just right here, and you see here this is like a sort of like a template or a sample of what a character sheet will look like when it's completed. So the basics, we're going to start with filling out the character's name and other basic descriptions. So there's no classes, and because Among the Corpses takes place in the real world, it's a zombie apocalypse, but real world, we don't have classes. We have just like people and their professions. So basically, we're just going to start with a name. Name for your character for my character is going to be Bob. There we go. His name is Bob. All right. So next, we're going to have the type. So what type of character is he going to be? I think Bob is going to be a he's going to be a arrogant doctor. Just because, why not? So basically, what you're doing is you're kind of for the type you're using basically a descriptor of them and maybe what their profession was. Like they could be a raider, uh, could be a thief, it could be a doctor, like whatever you think this character is going to be, that's what he is. Could be like a mechanic, could be an electrician, whatever maybe he did in the past or what they're doing now. It could be a hunter, like anything, you know, any descriptor you think it would work. Gender, I'm just going to call him, say it's male. Again, it could be anything male. And age, this is getting annoying, Canva. Say he's 42. Doing this in Canva doesn't really work great, but it is what it is. And then whatever we'll do with height and weight, you can put whatever you want them to be. And then there's general description of him. Say he's balding, with green eyes, say slim, wears what would be considered upscale clothes. You don't need a lot. You can put as much or as little as you want. If you look at the template I did, I'll zoom in on that a bit. This guy's name is Henry Odell. He's a confident athlete, male, 18, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Henry has a friendly smile, bright green eyes. He wears a t-shirt of his favorite football team. He's built like an athlete, confident. Like, it's very simple. A couple sentences is all you need. Next, we're going to pick our attributes. So as you can see, your character sheet is pretty simple. You have 6 attributes in which to assign 16D. So OpenD6 uses only D6 dice. So when it says D, it's just referring to D6. Instead of writing out D6 all the time, when you're only using one die, you don't really need to do that. So it just says D. So each attribute should have no less than 2D and no more than 4D. You can split a D into 3 pips. So you can, let's say if you want to have a plus to something, like if you want something to be 3D plus 1, then you would have a +2 to put somewhere else, or 2 +1s to put somewhere else. You can't have a +4, because once you go to +4, it becomes a whole dice. So let's say his coordination, since he's a doctor, we're going to say his coordination is 3D. Again, this is not the best way to do it, but say his coordination is 3D. Strength, we're going to give him a 2D. So that's 5D total we've used. So we've used 5D out of our 16D. We have 11D left. His knowledge, he's going to be pretty high in knowledge. 4D. Charisma, see, he's arrogant, so I'm going to say his charisma is probably pretty low. We're going to give him a 2D in that. So now we've used 5, 9, 11. We have 5D left. His perception, let's say his perception is going to be 3D. And then his technical is going to be 2D. So I didn't split up these die just because I kind of wanted to keep it simple. But I absolutely could have. I could have taken, say, the perception, if I wanted him to have a lower perception of 2D plus 1, I could have taken those 2 extra and added it to his coordination. Maybe it would have been 3D plus 1, and his strength maybe 2D plus 1, or 3D plus 2, whatever. But for this, we're just going to keep it very simple. Next, his skills. So you can split 7D among skills that fall under these attributes. There is a skill list, you'll see. Each attribute has some basic skills that it covers. If your group decides on other attributes you'd like to add, go for it. So just if it's missing in the book and it's a skill that you think you might want in your game, then absolutely add it and just put it under the appropriate attribute. Skill specializations. A character can specialize in a sub-skill. For example, taking a firearm skill and specializing in an assault rifle. Note a specialization with the quotations next to its skill. Advancing a specialization costs half as much as advancing a main skill. We'll deal with that after. So let's go take a look at our skill lists. So remember, we have 7D to give to our skills. So coordination skills. So I got 3D here. I'm going to give them driving land vehicles. Oops. Driving land vehicles. We'll give them 1D in this. So what happens is when you add a die to the skill under the attribute, you're combining the attribute score with the skill score. So if I'm giving him 1 in driving land vehicles, driving land vehicles now becomes 4D because he's got 3D in coordination, 1 in driving, so that becomes 4D. Next, let's see, is there any other ones that he might have here? Let's give him sleight of hand because he's a doctor. Maybe he's good with his hands. And we'll give him, say, 2D in that. So now he's got, oops, I put 2D. It should be 5D. So the skills you can have higher than 4D. And you can't have lower than 2D really because your attribute's automatically going to, if it would be lower than 2D, then you would just do strength. You would just do the attribute score. So sleight of hand. If you need to perform a skill that you don't have, it defaults to the attribute score as well. So there we go. We've got 1 and 2, so that's 3 out of our 7. Let's go to knowledge skills. We're going to give him sciences. I think that makes sense for him. We will give him sciences of, let's say, 1D. So that makes it 5D in science. So 5D in science. So we've used a total of 4D now. I think that's probably all we're going to give him for this. Now you'll notice in the PDF here we have medicine, but you need to have first aid of 5. So when we get to the technical, which is where first aid is, if he ends up having a 5 in that, then we'll give him medicine as well. So let's go to strength. Now, he's not very strong, so I don't know that he's really going to have anything in the strength. Let's give him running. Give him 1D in running. So remember, we've used 5D already, so we're getting close to the end here. So you got to be like, kind of choosy about where you're going to use, how you're going to distribute these dice. 3D. So we used 1D for driving, 2D for sleight of hand. That brings us to 3D. We've used 1D for running. That's 4D. And we used 1D for sciences. That's 5D. We have 2D left to give to something else. So I think since he's a doctor, he has to have first aid. So let's go ahead and just put first aid right away. There we go. Okay, so first aid, and we only have 2D left to distribute, so we're gonna give him the 2D, and then he's gonna be done. If you want to like conserve how many dice and like spread it over more skills, you just give him 1D per, or you can split it up, and then you can create like, you give him driving 3 plus 1, and then you've still got 2 pips from that dice. You can split it up. I'm keeping it simple here. If you're curious about how the pips work, if it doesn't make sense to you, then let me know in the comments, and I'll happily go over it again, just to show how it works. But you're basically splitting a D6 into 3, and splitting it 3 ways. Those will become your modifiers. So that gives him everything. So he's got nothing in charisma, but there's animal handling, command, diplomacy, interrogation, intimidation, stuff like that. Teaching, willpower, nothing in perception. So there's acting, bargain. It's pretty self-explanatory when you look at them. Okay, well, understand. A lot of things have been combined into one attribute. Maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense, but in order to keep it to 6 attributes, because OpenD6, the way it works is you have a bunch of different attributes that you can use to create your own game, right? So you kind of have to pick and choose like what makes sense for the game. So I decided that, coordination is going to encompass dexterity and things like that. Strength is also going to have your willpower and your basically force and stuff like that. So everything kind of falls under certain headings, even if the heading is maybe a little ambiguous. All right, so we have his attributes and his skills. Next, his hero points. So each character starts with a hero point. The way the hero points work is that you can use your 1 hero point to double the amount of dice you're rolling. So what that means is, if, say, I was rolling first aid with Bob, and I wanted to use a hero point, I would say before I rolled it, I'm using my hero point, and instead of rolling just 4D, I would roll 8 dice. And so it'd be possible to it's almost impossible to fail depending on what the difficulty and what he's trying to accomplish. But again, you only get 1. You can regain them at the end of an adventure or mission or whatever, however the game master decides he wants to regain them. And you can gain more depending on how you act throughout the game. The game master can decide, I'm going to give you an extra hero point because you did something like truly, you self-sacrificed, or you did something truly benevolent or heroic or whatever. And so it gives the game master has the ability to just hand out hero points as they want at the end of game sessions or missions, however they want. Character points. So each character starts with 5 character points. Now, the character points, the way they work is you can spend 1 character point to add a die to your roll. So again, if he was going to roll first aid and he spent a character point, then instead of 4D, he would roll 5D. You can wait until after you roll to decide if you want to add that character point and add that die to your roll, but it needs to be before the game master adjudicates the result of your rolls. So we're going to add 5 character points here. Very simple. 5. And then your movement for a human is always 10 unless it's being modified by something like an injury or what have you. All right, so we are almost done. Special abilities. Now, because this takes place in the real world, there's not really any special abilities, but I wanted to put it in there because I want to leave it open for game masters to kind of create their own reality in this zombie apocalypse. Like maybe there's weird science that creates psionics or whatever. I want that the game masters feel empowered to be able to do what they want with this. So I left it like that. Maybe like mutations, whatever. Something that can give players special abilities if the game master wants. Now, equipment. We're starting the game. So money is no good in this world because there's nowhere to spend it. The world basically works on the bartering system. So beginning of the game, you're kind of starting with nothing. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll 2D, and you're going to roll it 2D, 1D times. So let's roll a 1D. I got a 5, so I'm going to roll 2D 5 times. So first we got 8 bow, 12 arrows. There's no reason why this has to be stuck in stone. If you want to add to this list or you want to let characters just pick their own equipment, like, that's fine. There's no reason why you can't do that. All right, so a bow and 12 arrows. Next, that's 1 roll. So 5, flashlight. Now, a flashlight doesn't necessarily have batteries. Just remember that. Batteries, ammunition, gasoline, food, all these things are resources that are incredibly important and incredibly valuable. People will kill for them. People will use them to barter. So kind of these are the things that will help your characters make their way in the world if they meet other settlements and whatnot. So that's 2 rolls. Let's roll again. That's a 9. So 9, I got a screwdriver, not the drink. That's a 10, slingshot, and a 6, batteries. There we go. So he's got batteries for his flashlight. So there we go. We got his equipment. He's got a bow and 12 arrows, a flashlight, a screwdriver, a slingshot, and batteries. It's not a lot, but it's enough to get going. So here we go through the attributes. So basically after this, all you're going to do is you're going to think about Bob's background. Where did he come from? Well, maybe he was a family physician, or maybe he was a surgeon, whatever. I just talk about his background, what his personality is like, his objectives. It's important for the characters to have objectives because they need to make their way in this world. What are his personal objectives? Is he trying to find something? Is he just trying to get to one of the bastion cities that are out there that are apparently safe, that are kind of just rumors, things like that? A personal quote could be a personal quote for you that you like that you're going to attribute to him. However, and then the connection to the other characters. We're not going to go through all this now. This is like a personal thing for you guys. I wanted to show you the mechanics of how to put this character together. The connection to the other characters is also kind of important because that's going to help create the story. So it doesn't have to be a good connection. They could, maybe the group has picked up Bob and they're keeping him with them because he's useful because he's a doctor, but he's just a jerk. Things like that. And that's it. That's basically how you create a character. It's pretty quick, it's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, and all of this, the attributes and the skills, is how you do things in this world. So every time you need to make a melee combat roll, you're fighting someone hand to hand, you're going to roll your strength. And if you're going to use a gun, or if Bob's going to use his bow, he's going to roll his coordination. Now, he doesn't have the bow and arrow as a skill, so he's not going to get any better. But as you play, if you gain character points through play, you can then use those to up your skills. Let's go back up here to the skills and the character points, and it says each character starts with 5 character points. These can be spent to add a single die d6 or a single d6 to a roll. It must be declared that you are using a character point either before the roll or after the roll before the game master has adjudicated the result of the roll. No more than 3 character points may be spent at any time, so you can only add 3. If you're going to add more than that, then you might as well use your hero point. Character points are also how characters advance. To increase a skill by +1, it requires a number of character points equal to the number of die in that the attribute has. So if I wanted to raise first aid by +1, I would have to spend 2 character points. So you want to save these so you don't use them all, so you can use them to make your character better. But maybe there might be situations where you need to add that extra die to your roll. For example, if Henry's dodge, Henry was the template character there. If Henry's dodge is +1, it would require 4 character points because he had 4 in coordination. To raise an attribute, it requires 10 times the number of dice the attribute has. So to raise technical by 1, then it would require 20 character points. For example, to raise Henry's coordination by +1, it would require 40 character points. So that's it. So that's basically it. That's how you create a character in Among the Corpses. I'm really excited about this zine. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to run it with my group and see how it works out. Like I said, it's half complete. I'm hoping that by the time the Kickstarter actually launches on February 21st, that it will be 100% complete. And that way, once the Kickstarter ends, it'll just go out. There might be like some art that needs to be done, but it won't take very long for it to come out once the Kickstarter is done. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If you want to check out the Kickstarter once it launches, or put it on your wait list for Kickstarters, I'll put a link in the description below. And if there's other stuff you want me to tell you about this game and about OpenD6, let me know in the comments. I think going forward, probably until the Kickstarter comes out, a lot of the videos are going to be about OpenD6 and Among the Corpses, just to show you guys what it's all about, and maybe drum up some interest in the zine so that hopefully it funds and it'll get out there in the world. That's it for now. Till next time, save a seat for me at your table.